All right, and we're live. Okay, so I am back to using Streamlabs instead of Ecamm. Just at least I'm a little bit more familiar with it. Oddly enough, I do like a lot of what I saw with Ecamm, and maybe what I need to do ultimately is actually take the time to sort of see what's possible. But you can see I'm something I've been experimenting with a bit on YouTube as well is to sort of attempt this sort of like style of having more of a side by like sort of like you can see like sort of like that 9:16 ratio of like having like the body facing, so it's like easier for me to have like an actual conversation with you rather than a small cutout of a head. But then this means that I obviously need to be cognizant of how this plays out in terms of the screen sharing, because obviously we lose a little bit of real estate when it comes to this. So whoa, that's a little weird. Why is it's a little buggy? Okay. So yeah, so given that today we're so a couple things. So since we are only streaming now to Twitch, so yesterday, and what I've been trying to do is like streaming to both YouTube and Twitch, and so that led to some confusion yesterday because I think Jess had some questions that were posted there, and unfortunately the comments weren't being funneled through Ecamm the way I kind of wanted them to, and it's possible it's because I was doing it through Restream, and it's just basically a whole slew of automation hiccups. But I think for now, just focusing the live streaming on Twitch solely, and then certainly the archives will all be posted into YouTube, and that will be kind of like the strategy going forward. So what we're going to do today is sort of continue our exploration of CSS animations. And so just to sort of recap from yesterday, so let me go to my labs V3. So for those who have been following my labs closer, one of the things I've changed is I've broken out the TypeScript portion. It's no longer basically consolidated into one repo. At one point, I thought it was a good idea to do that. I think I was tired of switching from TypeScript to JavaScript and thought it would be nice to basically have them like side by side so I can make changes, but honestly it ended up being more of a burden. So they are now separated back out into different repos. And so if I go ahead and open port 80 here in my repo, we'll see here that I think what did I do? I went to about. Yep, we can see here. So we played around with some of the animations regarding like being able to blink stuff in. In this part we're actually like scaling it in, scaling it out. So this is kind of neat. It's kind of making, it's a little weird to me that it's blinking though, I will say. Let's see, let me just make sure the settings here is not too bad. Here, so if I go to the about page, let's see, how does that look on this screen? It's not too bad. I'll bump it up a little bit more just for readability's sake. So here, if I bump this over here, bump it a little, 150, yeah, looks like this is probably the ratio we need for at least this sort of attempt at the ratio of real estate that I'm providing. So even more reason why we need to make sure we hide the various things so that you all can see everything. So we can see here that on the about page, we have this dragon that currently has it's currently called a Jiggle Transition, but really it's more of like a sort of zoom in, zoom out animation. So you can see here that when it comes in, it does the Jiggle animation, and then when it actually leaves, it'll reverse out. That's why you can see here it starts big and then it goes out, and then vice versa, it will come in and then blink in. And so as someone who considers myself like I dabble in animation, it's bothered me a little bit that it's blinking, and I think I actually know why. It's because basically when we're doing the Jiggle animation in reverse, so we take a look at where the Jiggle animation is. It's defined basically right here. And you'll notice that what it's doing is it's starting directly from the scale 2x. And so that's part of the problem, is that it's starting from here and then it's going all the way down. And so really what we probably want is for it to actually start from this part and then sort of work its way. So this is like a sort of reverse engineered, but like let's just say transform scale. Then we want it to like grow a little bit before shrinking all the way down. So even just this alone will probably change quite a bit. So here we can see that it'll grow, disappear, and then it'll grow, blink. And then so, man, sirens are so loud. So hopefully it's not picking up the mic too bad, but I guess I'll hear the audio recording on that later on. But you'll see here that just adding that initial step with the animation makes the difference between something blinking in and blinking out. And so now at least you have a semi-smooth transition. And then so theoretically, I might actually want to bump that closer to the middle because it looks like it's going pretty fast. So I'm just going to do 60%. There you go. That looks a little bit more natural as opposed to the way we had it before. So yeah, so now we have this like animating thing that comes in, comes out. And we defined it just using CSS and with a little bit of help with Vue's transition element that allows us to sort of pop in, pop out. And so let's, I'm going to go ahead and actually just save this. And more importantly, this is not an apt description of our experiment. And so one of the things I'm trying to get better at, so let's go ahead and full screen this now. Let's see. Wow, my second monitor is all but crashing. So I am gonna, let's see, yikes. I wonder what's happening here. All right, turning that off. Okay, so let me see. I just wanna make sure there's another way for me to track comments. So this is one of the things I am gonna definitely next week when I touch base with some of my coworkers who do live streaming much more often than I have and have a much more experience with this. I'd love to have some sort of overlay on the Twitch because it's kind of frustrating that I need to have something separate. And don't get me wrong, some people might just have multiple monitors and maybe that's the solution so that it doesn't interfere with the live coding. And more than something I'm more than happy to do, but I'd love to hear how other people have solved this problem because certainly when it comes to live coding, we want to be able to engage, right? Like that's the whole point of us being able to sit here and talk is because as you have questions or as we know it happens, as I'm stuck on something and you notice that I forgot and left a typo on something, it would be really great if, you know, you all could actually like interact. And so it looks like I'm successful at getting the stream manager on my phone now. So this is good. So I see the chat room. So if any of you should feel... you know, if you feel up to it, feel free to chat and I'd love to just make sure everything's working. But otherwise, I'm going to assume right now there's nothing in there and we'll keep going as it is. So that said, this is a labs repo, meaning that we have a bunch of stuff in here that is meant for sort of archival purposes for like, I tried this out, I tried this API out, and this is what I sort of resulted with. And so, you know, currently I was sort of lazy and I went with an about page, but really what I need to do right now is we need a component that's really for the kind of, I'll call it the dragon animation component. I think that's the way I'll most remember it. So I'll call it animate dragon title. This will be probably the most explicit way for me to do it. So if I split this up on, let's do that on the right. And so all I had my creature cage, and then I had a button toggle. Yep, that's basically what it is. So I'll just copy all of this actually. And then, bloop, we good. And then I'll just call this animate dragon titles. This is very clear that we're in this component. I'm gonna wipe this out for now and just make this again just a regular about page. And then the styles, on the other hand, let's go ahead and drag all of that over. So I don't need, these were sort of demonstration ones. Keyframe, jiggle, creature, cage. Yep, I'm gonna grab all that. And then this way, if in the future we want to iterate on this animation, it won't get lost when I inevitably have some other experiment that sort of blows through and accidentally destroys all the work that I've done. So here, there we go. That's my script block. And with that, we have refactored out our animation title. So there we go. Let's drop that in. Refactor abstract out animation dragon title. Okay, cool. So we now have the basics as far as like yesterday we talked a bit about transition versus animation, and we're seeing how sort of Vue starts to interact with this. And so what I wanted to do is take an animation that I've always wanted to do a bit more with, which is really having panels that can basically shift perspectives and change. And then obviously I would like to use Vue to manage that. So to show you exactly what I mean, we're gonna go ahead and let's open this up and we're gonna go into CodePen. And there is a pen I saw recently where I was, so let me back up a bit. So for those who are new to CodePen, CodePen is basically a way for you to create like little experiments that using HTML, CSS, JavaScript that basically have easy URLs for you to share. So for example, Cassidy recently, when she was doing a live stream for the JavaScript one, let me show you. So she was basically working on this pen. So let's see, let me do all of my pens. So this is one I did a long time ago. Where are all my public ones? There we go. Bloop, bloop, forked. That's what I want. No, where'd it go? I need to update this profile. This profile is a little old. Okay, anyway, so for example, let's just say here, this is actually probably this is one of the first CodePens I actually created. Here is just a Flexbox farm, which sort of shows you a way to use Flexbox. And so you can see here that there's this URL up here, which you can share with other people. And what's great about this is people can actually go in the code and update it without having to like say, you know, GitHub allows you to technically do something like this, except the problem is you either need to deploy your solution, or then if people want to make changes to your code, then it's fairly involved because then they have to download, clone, et cetera, et cetera. So, yep, so hence the CodePen. So what I want to do is look at the pens that I hearted recently. So the way you do that is you look at the loved, and I loved this one. So Jonathan Ching, I've started, I totally should, I thought I already followed him. Why is this still there? Okay, it is following. Okay. He created this 3D carousel slider. And so it's not so much about carousels that I'm interested in, because we know that, or at least for those who have studied the user experience side of things, there's sort of a mixed bag of emotions as far as whether carousels are really necessarily good for the user. But I do love this animation, and I think when it comes to narrative storytelling and then like creating engaging experiences, there's something really cool about this. So in this session, I want to try to break this down inside of Labs and create basically a component that uses Vue, and we're going to see if we can break this down basically from start to finish. So we can see here that right now, Jonathan inside his CodePen is basically using a lot of, I think he's using any jQuery. I don't think he is. I think this is all vanilla JavaScript, which by itself is very, very impressive. But one of the things that we want to do with Vue, or like one of the reasons we like using frameworks like Vue, is that it simplifies a lot of the boilerplate. So it's not as difficult to change everything, because right now, I am not totally understanding what's going on, just like at a glance. So that said, let's just get started. So, bloop. We're gonna go ahead and, okay, here's what I'm gonna do though. I always have this problem where I'm always looking for a place to just, I'm gonna create a lab view that just like, it's never gonna be consistently have anything, is basically what I wanted to do. And so what I mean by that is the lab will have, I need my routes to be updated. Okay, too many panels open, too many panels open. All right, here's my routes, space game, yeah. This is pretty important to me, so I'm gonna put it a little bit higher. The other paths might eventually get scrapped, for example, but labs will stick around. This is the sandbox I need really going forward. So lab here, not pab, lab, and lab. Okay. And then why is it not happy with me? Why are you yelling at me? Comma? Oh, yeah, right. Comma. Okay. So bump it over 2/3. Let's bump this over to 1/3 now. And now we have here, let's switch it over to lab. I should really get a navigation thing for this page, but that's okay. We'll figure that out later. Oh, I think I had one actually. What am I talking about? There we go. Space, and then now I can just add a lab here. Lab, and then lab. Great. I don't need panel right now or to do. It's not really important to me right now. Okay. So we have our lab, we've enabled this, great. Let's just quickly commit some changes real quick. Feature, enable labs. And then, does this have anything interesting? Yeah. Feature initialize lab page. And finally, it looks like I did not finish this commit, but this commit was abstract out dragon title logic. Okay, great. So we want to go ahead and break down our 3D carousel slider. And, you know, if we're going to do any good representation, it's easy to want to refactor immediately, but we're just going to try to we're going to go through and try to replicate this as close as humanly possible to the original. So for now, inside of labs, we're going to go ahead and we're not going to make the same mistake I did before. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it, I guess I'll call it 3D slider. I'm a 3D card slider. Oh, I don't like that too many card slider. That's kind of a weird Pascal case, but again, I'm getting. I wonder if you can actually have a number in front. Okay, we're gonna find out. I don't think you can actually do that, but let's find out real quick. 3D card slider. Okay. So here we're gonna import 3D card slider from components 3D card slider dot view. I think it's already yelling at me because I think, yeah, I knew it. That's what I vaguely remember from the beginning things. So since we can't call it that, yep, I'm just gonna call it card slider. I don't care. The 3D part is a nice aspect of it, but honestly, that's not what's most important. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the card slider experiment. We are registering it here at card slider, and we are gonna have it render out here. All right. All right, card slider is showing up, great. So now we can run our experiments. So card slider, we're gonna start by just copying all the markup. I think that's the simplest thing to do. So here we have this. It's all in Pug though, so this is one of the reasons I don't like Pug. I know that there are, it's very concise, and I will give it that. It just, I think I've worked on a number of Pug projects where every time I want to make a change on something, like if right now you told me to add like a data attribute to this div, I have no idea how to do it. Because it's one of those like, do I just do like data adders equals this? Like, is that good enough? And what happens if it's like it's like HTML is already quite declarative as a div, and I know that like there's a bit of clutter that can come with the, you know, open ending brackets, but this friction for me just sometimes can be tricky to deal with. So all right, luckily with Emmet though, this might not be as painful, but we shall see shortly. So this is the body, this is the, so if you're wondering what I'm doing, by the way, I'm literally just pressing tab. So Emmet will expand it, but I need to be careful because in Pug everything's by indentation, so we have to make sure that things are appropriately inside their, you know, like parent-child thing. So here, great. All right, so here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So here's our slider. This is, so again, I haven't worked with Pug extensively, but I do know for a fact that, well, again, the nice thing about when people write APIs that make sense, we can see we have a bunch of items here. This almost looks like it's declaring data. And then for that, it will basically loop through each item and then drop the things. The only thing that's interesting is that val1 index, I don't think, oh, h1 val1, here you go. See, that's the kind of thing that always throws me off, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be the equivalent of our handlebar syntax for rendering data. That said, I'm not going to complain anymore. Let's go ahead. Let's grab all these things, because this is what we want. And then here, boom, we got this. And then here in here, great. Wait, see, now I have to watch the indentation once again. It was div item 3D frame. Yep, and that was inside of it. This is what I don't like about this. Okay, so this was inside the item. And then inside of the frame, there are 3 different pieces. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because you have, oh boy, you have the front of the box, the left of the box, the right of the box. Okay, yeah, that would make sense. They're all siblings. And so 1, 2, 3. All of these are good. And then we have the H1 val1. I mean, fine. Again, this is 100% not accessible, but okay, you want to have the actual value of what you're looping through here, which I'm just going to go ahead and call item. And so if we should get the same effect now here, because we're going to loop through the different items by simply adding our v4 here. And we're just going to say for every item in one, I'm not even going to go that far. I'm just going to go to 5. And then just the key will be, we're just going to say card and then item, because it's just numbers right now. So this is the simplest form that we can do with what we have. And so when we refresh, we can see now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. This pug stuff is bye-bye, is gone. P tag 3D carousel slider. We don't need that P tag either, because we got our own title right now. Labs, great. Carousel, oh, it is not showing. Okay, whatever. Then card slider it is. Boom. Okay, so we have our markup now, so this is good. And let's go ahead and drop some styles. So this really, okay, it is not as simple as it's more or less a copy paste, but we're gonna probably see some interesting things happening here. So, oh, I don't think we have Sass on here. I think I just remember running into this yesterday. Yep. Okay, here we go. Vue CLI add Sass. Oh, you know what I want to do? No. We're going to do it the other way. Because so Node Sass for some reason, I always I'm not a huge fan of installing it by the command line because there's usually multiple things you're supposed to be doing. So what, introduction to, no, this is definitely the wrong project. Get me out. Out. Wrong one. Introduction to Vue 3, import projects. No, oh wait, it is projects and then labs, I believe is what I did. Projects, labs, V3. Yep, this is my V3 labs, great. And then for this, please add, that's not the plugin. Okay, node. Oh wait, Sass? There should be a Sass plugin, at least you would think. No Sass plugin. That's sad. If I did Node Sass? Oh, fine. Oh, wait, I think I messed that up. I need to add the plugin, then I can look for Sass. Vue CLI plugin Sass loader. Okay, this looks, all right, let's try it. Install this. Bum. So that's the other thing. I would Jess had brought up before. So I recently got a Stream Deck. Would love to get some sound bites and just fun stuff we can do with the channel. That is something with whoa. Oh, okay, that's fine. Bum. Okay, file change. All right. So if all theoretically went well, it should not be broken anymore. Because we are gonna start up, start up the new server here. I'm surprised I didn't scaffold a preprocessor with my labs, because at this, sometimes what I'll do is, yeah, fine, I'm just gonna do it. Sass loader. One of the reasons I don't always install sort of all the tooling I'm used to doing is because when we're talking about exploring new concepts, one of my call it like principles that I try to do when teaching coding is to actually keep the amount of tooling to a minimum, because bollocks. Why? Cannot find module Sass. All right. Boo. I regret not configuring it earlier. Sass loader Sass. All right, fine. One more time. Yarn add Sass loader Sass. Then. Okay. So cool. Please work. And so even something which, again, Sass, particularly SCSS, is actually very close to CSS, which is why normally I'm okay with it. But typically, if I'm focusing on a concept that is like brand new, say like composition API, for instance, I really try not to give students and the audience any reason to get distracted, or more importantly, any excuse to go, oh, I don't know that thing, so therefore I can't follow it anymore. This is also why, like, as much as TypeScript is very prevalent and people like it a lot, I actually tend to stay away from it, and sort of, especially if we're using it for demoing things, just because there is still a lot of stigma around TypeScript, as much as there is a lot of benefits. And I have seen, like, I do really enjoy the development experience it does provide, but when it comes to teaching things, again, unless it's a TypeScript specific like plugin that like you're trying to really demo things, I find that it ends up alienating your audience more so than anything, because for those who aren't ready for the strongly typed languages, or haven't really gotten to the point where they're thinking through like model types and those sort of things, then it's just, again, just one more reason for them to go like, this is not for me. When we know one of the things we tried to do with the coding community, especially at least I can speak for the Vue side as well, is that we really just want to give people the ability to solve problems and build cool things. Like, yes, there are ways to iterate and improve on technique always, but like the first thing is getting us from that 0 to 1. So it's really common for us as engineers to look for that perfect solution, and the truth is that it's often, it's like a recurring thing with me, but I find that it's often overkill. So it looks like we actually were successful this time, which is good news. So cool, we see some styles showing up, but definitely probably some weirdness happening. So I'm gonna full screen this real quick and then zoom out a little bit, because I need to see what the heck is going on. Okay, we don't need all this global stuff. I don't need this HTML stuff right now. At least I'm pretty sure I don't. Although it's saying that, sure, carousel, no, I don't need any of this. I'm good. Okay, so there you go. Now we got rid of the dark theme, but nothing is styled correctly at all. That's a little weird to me, because carousel exists here, and we're seeing everything still exists in place. But okay, it's a little weird to me though, because you would think that some of the boxes should already start applying styles. So let's just, I guess, inspect our element just to see, to make sure that I'm not going crazy here. So here's our H1. Let's see, let's bring this up a bit. 3D ID frame. Yep, that's a little weird. Look, item. So we see here we have all these classes, item, 3D frame, box, yada yada, but I don't see a single style here, when I'm pretty sure item, 3D frame, box is here, but that is empty down here. Oh, this item active. Okay, but then 3D frame is a pretty specific term. Yep. ID 3D frame. Yep. Here we go. So here is when it's of carousel slider item. Carousel slider item is here. Then it's a child of it, which it is. It should get this position relative bit. So why are we seeing such weirdness with the styles? Oh, here we go. Oh, carousel preview is working. but carousel slider item does not get a single thing. Oh, what's this body thing? Oh, did I mess up? See, this is what I don't like about Pug. Body, body, body. Oh, hold up. The body needs to encapsulate everything. So short of the carousel itself, because the carousel embodies that. Then here, if my hunch is correct, oh, I think something happened. There we go. Something blinked and disappeared. But my instinct, I think, was on point for that. Carousel body, great. But where did all the children go? I guess this is why they had... Alright, I'm just going to do body background colored. Just a dark color. Okay, so everything's stacked on top of each other right now. Okay, that's manageable for the moment. Alright, I'm just going to do this real quick. Wow, this is really specific that it won't take it. Alright, fine. Okay, so all our numbers are here. Okay, so at least it looks like something is happening. What we need to do now is take a look at the JavaScript piece. This is probably the trickiest part of this whole thing. So here goes nothing. Alright, so inside of our block, I'm going to go ahead and on mounted, theoretically, we're running all this JavaScript. And so I don't know how bad this is gonna. Yeah, this is how bad is this. This is pretty bad. All right, let's bump this out a little bit. Why does it say no semi? Oh, it probably really doesn't like. Yeah, it doesn't like these sort of things. Although, what the heck? I'm pretty sure the resize function. All right, let's walk through it. Function use strict. Is it gonna force it every time? Oh, that's maybe part of the problem. All right, so I'm gonna just say const init CodePen JS equals this. Okay, so I'm gonna delete the use strict. Don't need to bother with that. How many errors are we getting? We are getting still more errors, which makes sense because we're not immediately invoking this at the end. And then we can say init CodePen.js save. Oh, something's already happening, which is pretty darn cool, not gonna lie. 28.9. So again, if you, not again, Command P, jump to line 28. So all I did was Command P, colon, and then we jumped over. And so we can see here, yeah, the resize has a weird thing. I don't think that's right. I think resize, yeah, it's just a declaration. So this is the sort of the one annoying thing I find about Prettier, is that once it misinterprets something, it's very annoying. Although, wow, I am looking at this. No wonder why. Why the heck are there commas here? That's so weird. That's probably why it like freaked out. All right, here we go. Okay. Cool. So it looks like, hey, okay, we basically, I mean, don't get me wrong, we haven't done anything terribly impressive yet. We've really just duplicated the things into our component, but it is working. So that's like the key thing, right? We're talking like making iterative steps and making things change. Then at this point we have, let's see, let's commit some changes. I did that, did this. So this would be a feature at SAS. And then here we've, when did the variable CSS change? Assets variable CSS, it's a little weird. But it's fine. I don't, not too concerned. And then feature add working card slider example. Although one thing I do want to do, in case people are looking for this, is I'm a huge fan of always giving credit back to the original author, at least from where I found it. Maybe Jonathan got it from someone else, but that at least I can at least trace that much back to him. So what I think I'll do here is for card slider, I will underneath card slider we are going to give credit back to the original original inspiration from, I think I just said is Jonathan Ching. So I'm gonna say a href, that's his CodePen, Jonathan Ching. There we go. So now we should have at least something here. Oh, this is bothering me though. Why is the text? Why? So dark. Don't get me wrong. I know we probably have some. Yeah, wait. It's inherited. If it's inherited, then seriously, why can't I just say app color white? All right, that's good enough. That'll work for me for now. At least it's not completely legible. So here, someone's probably already thinking this will bleed into other parts of the lab, but that's okay. That is the beauty of it's the beauty of this being a lab. We can break other things, not a huge deal. I'll usually know exactly where it's coming from. So our feature here is we have it's more of a docs thing, it's really. Add original source of inspiration. Boom. All right, it's time for the part I've been dreading, which is we got to figure out how this thing works. And by dreading, I mean this will be fun. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. So what's tricky here is there's a lot going on. One, you'll see that we have a bunch of element selectors that are actually going through and fetching each individual item. So the carousel itself, each slider, each individual item. And again, we're using Vue, so there's a lot of this can be refactored. It's just a matter of figuring out what's doing what. So as I always like to do, or more like I'm trying to remind myself to be better about this, is we really should be thinking of things in the smallest route possible when we're starting to figure out unlocking how the code works. And so if my gut says that the previous and next buttons are the easiest things to refactor into Vue. So in fact, actually, where the heck did my buttons go? Because that's no good. That's no bueno. Where are my buttons? I need to know where the buttons are so I can actually try them. Oh, they're here. And they are, oh, wait a second. FA angle. That looks like a font awesome thing, but clearly nothing's showing up. So I'm not going to spend the time to do the font awesome piece because that's icing on the cake. Let's simply add a left. So just like our previous, like this. So we do it like that. That should, oh, it really didn't like that. All right, fine, whatever. I'm just gonna say the word previous. Previous, great. And then we're gonna have this be next. Okay, cool. Okay, we got our things. We got our carousel previous, carousel next. And so let's go ahead and see what the original intent was with these. So if I'm gonna try to use, find all of references. I'm trying to be better about using some of the VS Code things. Okay, so look here. We have an event where we're binding on resize. That's a separate thing. We'll deal with that later. Here's the interesting thing is when we click, then run this function previous, vice versa, which I expected, run next otherwise. And so if we see here, then, and we reverse engineer, we go back one more, we see that next and previous looks like what they do is they change the current index. And then there's a timer functionality that's attached to it that clears the interval. So here's the thing. I am going to try to just delete the interval. I don't want it moving on its own. That's like, I want interactivity. I don't necessarily want it like browsing through. So I'm gonna like bump all these. Oh, I think I cleared too much. Whoops. Wait, next totally had something. Hang on. I think I accidentally collapsed it. I think is what happened. There we go. That's that. I clear out the, let me make sure I find all references of it. Okay, when we init, we cue the timer, and then here we have the timer. Okay, so now I say interval is defined, but it's never used. Great. Bye-bye. Interval time is the value never used. Perfect. Gone. And then function init doesn't like that. Oh, well, duh, there's a comma there. Okay. So here, if we click next, yes, it moves as expected. Although, okay, what's a little odd to me right now is that the shapes, oh, no, they're there. They're there. So we see that basically that here, Jonathan has found a way to very cleverly, so basically use, I believe it's a box shadow technique to make it look like there's 3 dimensions to it, even though these are all separate pieces like this. So just to show you what I mean, this here, this is one div, and then this is why you have the left and right, because right now the left, as you can see here, is completely hidden. So it's like the perspective has shifted it so that the div is not visible. On the other hand, this right div, on the other hand, is visible, so now it's seen. And so this is where I need to, or I'd really love to get a better understanding of how perspective works, because the few times I've tried to write perspective CSS by hand, it's been, let's say, less than successful. So that said, we've actually cleared out the, wow, that was so loud. Whew. Sorry, bumping that down. So in case you're wondering what that sound was, Streamlabs does a thing where I believe someone just subscribed. So thank you. Again, I really need to find ways to get this stuff to pop up to whoever subscribed, but it just did like this huge, and apparently I had the volume on max. So that's where like the expensive headphones has a con. That was unexpected. Okay. So where were we? Next, we were on the next and previous. So we have this index that I'm looking for at this point, because that looks like a reactive, like that's like my immediate thought was like, this is reactive data we need to track. So let's go ahead and find all references to current index. And so again, for those of us who like me have been using like VS Code, like its bare essentials, like normally I would just do a find and replace. The right click on variables is something I'm trying to get much better at, and will probably eventually be much better at using the shortcut keys to it. There is a lot of wealth of stuff in here to slowly explore. So if I were to have you do one thing, it's to look at this find all references bit. It basically does the find all for you within the file. And I believe it's a little more, it's a little bit more intelligent than that, because normally when you do find all, you're basically doing string matching. Whereas I believe VS Code can actually tell the difference between just like something that contains the string you're looking for versus like an actual reference. And so you see here, there's going to be other things like change all occurrences. So this makes refactoring easier. So things like this, I will definitely start adding more. I'll create like tips and tricks for VS Code as time goes on, because I certainly need to upgrade my knowledge of VS Code as a tool, because I came from basically Notepad days where all we have is a plain text editor. So it's not so much I've been reluctant, but like I have sort of call it muscle memory with how I do certain things. And while not the most efficient, it's sometimes it might not be the most efficient time-wise, but it's efficient mentally, because then there's less cognitive overhead to say, again, find all and then like replace it with multi-cursor. That I'm familiar with all day long. But like, since I don't have a traditional computer science background, I don't have like an IDE background where I'm used to all these tools and immediately like seek them out to use them. So, but again, we're developers. We want to learn how to solve things better. So this is just taking that one step further. So here we have current index. So we have a bunch of things here. Where is this being? Okay, so it's being referred to here, starting at 0, and then index is set here. Okay. This is okay. So I said that this would be easy to refactor, and I stand by this in one regard, because once we move it, oh no, I am right. Okay, let's do this. I think I know what I'm talking about. So current index is boom, coming out. Current index is going to move into a reactive data properties. So we are going to go ahead and just, again, we'll just use the options API right now. There's really no need to complicate things. So I'm just going to be a little bit more explicit and say current index like this. And so now we have this here. If this works as expected, let's see, right click, change all occurrences, and I do this dot current index like that, and save. I don't know if this is gonna work. Let's see, did that change? Oh, look, see, that's what I'm talking about. So this current index actually, like, it updated all the instances of it. So if I find all references, we can see now. All right, well, anyways, that didn't work as expected, but current index looks like it's totally gone. So we have a move function, and this passed in. It looks like I may have broke something though. It did look like it broke something. This dot current index equals index function move. Yep. Since it's mounted, the reason why I'm saying I think I'm okay is because we at this point have access to our reactive data. The only question is, why did something break? So All right, function next, function previous. Let me just make sure I am not going crazy. Current index equals 0. That's how they had referred to it. Why does it not like it? Mounted, comma, fine. Yep, this is correct. And so why does it not like this? I'll keep the same naming convention just to be totally clear. So if I delete this, this should break. We expected that. So function, yeah, so these aren't arrow functions, so nothing should get reset context-wise. And then current index is not defined, that's fine. Again, I'm doing this manually because I want to make sure that I didn't do anything weird with my automated thing. But yeah, you'll see it's really interesting is that it lost sort of its place, basically. And part of this may have to do with how the JavaScript is calling one another. So I'm going to go ahead and keep at this in terms of, so there's a function move that'll go ahead and go through. Oh gosh, this is so tricky. All right, we're going to go ahead and just keep at it. Function move here. Let's take that. And then we're going to it's going to be a method. And then we have this big move function now. It's probably going to break. Why is it breaking? Parsing error, comma, great. Okay, now that parses. Items is not defined, that's totally fine. Where is items from? Items is probably, based on what I saw in the code earlier, where is items set? All right, let's use our handy dandy find all references to items. Yep. Items equal, oh, here we go, init CodePen. So at the very beginning, items is basically getting all, okay. So this is a query selector for our individual elements. But why does it want that? And the reason it wants that is because if the items is less than items.length, then items.length index. And this current index is 1. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is there's really no need to fetch like this items here is only important because basically it looks like items is primarily being used as a way to just count how many exist. But we don't need that because what we can do instead is we can say we have a v4 loop here, and then we can just say card list is what this is. And so the beauty of having all this stuff managed for us with our frameworks is now we don't have to necessarily query the DOM for it. We know that it's a list of items, and now it should be 1, 2. Let me just start with this dot card list save. Better, but not quite fix. Items, 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 items. So let's go ahead and look for all references. Just the one? I find that hard to believe, but sure, if that is the case, then great. Items is not defined. Where else is? Yeah, see, that makes me a little skeptical of that technique. I guess maybe it was because it was accessed that way. Still can't find items. Oof. This dot item card list dot I. Yep. Really? 14? Oh, there's gonna be a lot of refactoring for this. Okay. Now it's looking for other things. It's looking for things like slider and move. Okay, let's one error at a time. Line 26, slider.style.transform. See, okay, this is the kind of thing. Okay, perfect. See, this is, all right, where else is slider used? That's what I want to know. Find all references. Slider is used in 2 places. So this is another perfect place of refactoring, because here, all we're doing, the only reason why the JavaScript is existing at this point is to update our transform with this basically piece of dynamic styling. And so we can, as we know, for those of us who are familiar with Vue, we can basically, I think I'm just going to cut this, and then we're going to jump over to where our slider actually is. And then here is our slider, and then dynamically bind it to this thing right here where we say transform transform translate 3D. Okay, so it's doing a lot of funny stuff here. Here? Yes. Okay, pixel, it's grabbing width, window, inner width. Wow, there's a lot of calculations going on in here. That's okay. No, this whole thing is a calculation. Holy smokes. So, plus, so I don't even need that. I just need to wrap this entire thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Then you append the pixel here. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about this, I think. And then I think we got it. Oh man, this is the hard part of refactoring the vanilla JavaScript. Okay, not gonna worry too much about it right now. Something else is not happy. On line 40, write this dot move. So now it's a method. Slider is still not defined, and that's totally fine because, all right, this is just resizing it on width. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Actually, resize as a whole, I'm not gonna worry about resizing. So basically the resize here, if you haven't seen this in other applications, basically what it's responsible for is on the event, like on the window resize, like when we're dragging, it'll go ahead and run all the calculations again and do the appropriate things. And right now we really don't care about this. So I'm actually just gonna look for resize and just comment it out for now. Oh my gosh, it got worse. How did it get worse? Okay, let's keep going. Don't get discouraged. Var, height, width. Width is not defined, never used. Oh, great. Height's defined, never used. Great. Total width not defined, never used. Margins assigned a value and never used. Great. We love deleting things. This is so good. Move is defined. All right, so we have 54, 58. Yep, that makes sense. This dot resize is defined and never used. Yep, commenting that out. And then parsing error. Okay, 97. I think it's not happy with that thing I wrote here. This craziness here. Okay, hold up. Style. Okay, well, I mean, one, I screwed that up. And that makes sense that it's broken because it kind of has no idea what I'm talking about in terms of index width, inner width. Yep. Sadly, I think for now, actually, I'm gonna miss this translation real quick, but okay, there we go. So maybe that's why, because you translated each one based on its index, but this means then that your the v4 we were doing really belongs on each individual. Hold up, I missed something. Slider is determined by slider transform. Yeah, your selector is here though. Slider is Carousel Slider. So I was right. It is this first one. Did I misread the HTML? That is totally possible. Each val. Oh, yep. I think so. This is where it's unfortunate. This is, again, this is, I guess, misreading the pug. You're looping through the slide. That's so weird. The item should prepend this is really what I'm thinking, but the reason why I'm questioning this at all, let me just full screen this so that we can actually see things, is because the slider is actually referring, no, this is referring to the one item. Okay, no, I'm good. I read the pug correctly. Which means the selector is carousel.get, yeah, get class name slider. It's this one. And then there is some styles being set from the slider transform, and then it grabs the width, and the width is defined up here, but it's actually not set until resize. I see. That's why resize is important. Sadness. Okay. Wow, this is tricky. Yeah, these are the parts where it makes it challenging when it comes to, like, clearly vanilla JavaScript is very powerful in its ability to do these things, but the fact that it's so tightly, like, I don't know, it's just oddly intricate, I think, to make some of these things happen. I really want to get to a good stopping point, but it's a little weird right now because as I refactored things, it's like I ended up making things a bit worse. All right, so resize does, okay, so this is what I don't like about that naming, because based on the name resize, I mean, if I haven't resized it at all, it really shouldn't be calling something called resize. I'm just gonna say it. It should be just like the init should have something, but anyways, slider doesn't have anything styled with. So here, total width with cardless length. I mean, that's not the biggest deal. That I can comment out. Total width is assigned but never used. Fine, comment that out. Total width is defined and never used. I literally just, oh, here. Okay, that's gone. Move is defined, not used. This dot move and this dot move. Okay, something is broken. Inner width of undefined. Inner width of undefined. Inner width. What are you getting inner width by? Ah, yes. Okay, so it doesn't like this at all. Translate the 3D. Alright, what if I take this out? Will you render correctly? Alright, you're expecting an expression. Alright, I'm cut all of this out. Refresh. Alright, so that transform is kind of important. Womp womp. Okay. Alright, I want to get us to a point where we can stop. So the key thing here is to take a look at the slider piece again and where the transform exists, which is right under the box style.transform. Perspective, yep. And then box here, then save. Slider is not defined. Alright, then I have to bring slider back in as a definition because I was not successful in rejiggering this piece. It's not gonna like this. Then the reason it's not gonna like it is because slider exists within this context and not the other one. So I'm gonna say slider is not defined. Okay, I think. Oh, boo. Really don't want to end here. All right, how many changes have we made since then? I'm pretty sure we made a lot in an attempt to try to refactor it out. We'd made the list, so we'd move things to methods. We had tried to simplify the items. And so, by the way, here is a classic example of when you get in over your head and you're just trying really hard to just sort of move all the pieces. But what we really should have done is we actually had some small wins in here where we were able to successfully do things like remove timer, you know, pull out some pieces to be reactive and like sort of moving them into the options API. But unfortunately, the last time I committed was, I believe, it was take log. Yeah, I just had the original source of inspiration. So unfortunately, I am at time at this point. But so you can see this is an interesting experiment from taking something that, again, is actually really useful. I think a lot of people could use, so if I refresh the original one, having something like this that's componentized, that they can just bring into the framework for Vue, I think would be really helpful because, as you can see, there actually is a fair amount of complexity happening as far as being able to set things, perspectives, and those sort of things. And so having it written in a declarative way where it's easy for people to understand, whereas this, on the other hand, is incredibly, I think it's well written because I do understand what's happening for the most part, but making changes or breaking this out, as we can see, into refactoring the pieces is taking a bit more time. So with that, really appreciate everyone for taking time to watch today. And then I guess I will see you tomorrow. So thanks for watching.